So today we are going to be continuing to take a look at a scenario where civilization starts over. We're now in episode 3 of the series, and in the last episode we saw a pretty big war in Europe, we saw a lot of expansion in South America, and another pretty big war in Malaysia, so let's get started. So the first event of this episode is going to be the entirety of the Antolian Peninsula being discovered by the Green Team. They are very expansionist and want to conquer all of this land, as well as this Crimea is discovered, and more of this Romanian area is discovered, as well as southern Ukraine, around the Sea of Azov, I think it's pronounced. As well as this, all of the water of the Black Sea is going to be discovered, so that's pretty cool. So now the Green Team is going to be doing some more expansion to connect up with this southern bit down here. They are sending tons of people down here and telling them to live in these areas, even though they're very mountainous in the middle of this peninsula. So they are going to be setting up a few new major cities on the southern Mediterranean coast and also one on the Aegean Sea. So that will look like this. At this point, the Green Team is starting to become quite large, probably one of the largest countries in the world, maybe behind the Sumatran Empire, but definitely the largest in this area. And now they're going to go after this Purple Team again. Now earlier they did conquer them, but they're just sick of this guy. They are one of the oldest countries in the world, the first country that kind of like started the civilization in Europe, but they are going to be going after them. So Green Team troops are going to spill into this country, and almost immediately the capital is going to be taken. They storm down into these islands, and the country is going to be fully annexed into Green Team territory. Like I said, the Green Team is very expansionist right now, and they're just trying to get as much land as possible. Also at this point, then we're going to see some more land be explored, and a new country is going to form over here in Albania, which is going to be this dark teal country, kind of. So this country is going to form right about here. It is going to stretch down across this coastline, and this country is also going to discover this little tip of Italy here, which it is also going to colonize a little bit, and they're also going to be setting up some major cities. The capital of this Albanian country is actually going to be placed in Italy, so I guess it's not really an Albanian country, but more of an Italian one, but I'm just going to call it the Albanian country because that's where they started. Anyways, the Thessaloniki country is going to do some expansion. They're going to take all of the Thrace territory. They're also going to move up into this Bulgarian land. In addition to that, they're going to set up a small colony at the very tip of Crimea, and eventually take the entire peninsula. It is at this point where we see the world goes through a bit of a population boom. A lot more major cities are going to be forming in Europe and down here in South America. As for Southeast Asia, there's not going to be much here because this area is kind of crippled after that huge war, but I'm sure their population will increase sometime soon. Anyway, speaking of Southeast Asia, Sumatra is going to be sending off on a boat over here and landing right in Borneo, and they're going to be setting up a small colony over here. They're going to explore some of this land. Sumatra is eventually planning to have a incomplete dominance over this entire strait, as well as most of the Indian Ocean, which means they'll have to conquer both of these countries. However, they still have friendly relations with the Malaysian country. Back in South America, we're going to see some more exploring go on here. There are going to be multiple missions sent out by the red country and this pale blue country to go up the coast and see what else is here. They come across this large island, which is immediately starting to be used for lumber production. There's a huge amount of trees on this island, and they want to not only take all the trees off of here and use it to build more cities, but they also want to build a bunch of cities and develop this island here. So the red team is going to be setting up a colony on this island. They have built a quite impressive road system all the way up to this island, and that road system reminds me to set up a new layer, which is going to be the trade route layer. So this trade route layer is going to show important trade routes and roads on the map. So the red team is going to have one going from their capital up here across the coast and on to this island. This trade route is also going to go here across the coast, but avoid the borders of the Green Team and the Anarchist Team. It's going to stop in the Pink Team's capital and go all the way over to this Brown Team over here. In addition to that, we have a few road systems going across the entirety of Sumatra, hitting all these major cities here, and a road system from this part of Malaysia all the way down here. We also have this large road system crossing from Asia Minor over here into Greece, which splits off into two little areas, and this little road up here over to Crimea. Anyways, going back to this island over here, some more land is going to be colonized over here. There is a lot of, it's a very swampy area right here. There are a lot of little inlets and little like swampy marshes here, and this is very, very thick, dense jungle in this area. It's not very easy to colonize, but these guys are doing it anyways. Also reminds me I should probably update the ocean exploration map. In addition, this pale blue country is going to be discovering this island over here, which they're going to use to send their prisoners to. I think this also happened in real life. But they're just going to send prisoners to this island as well as the red country. They're going to use this as like a prison camp. Anyways, over here in the green team, we're going to see a mass expansion take place where basically almost all of Anatolia is going to be under their rule. Even more Black Sea shoreline is going to be taken over here up to the Caucasus and down here near the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. Many people are getting unhappy with all of this expansion, so they're going to be moving down here into the Holy Land. This includes some of the people from this Lime country who are kind of looking for some new land, since Cyprus is a bit small and not very good for farming. This land is a little bit better for farming, but still not that good. So explorers will set out and explore all this Mediterranean area, and a colony is going to be set up on this coast right here, as well as a major city. As well as that, we're going to have this little Palestinian, Israeli, Egyptian, weird colored country down here, and they're going to set up a little major city here, which is going to be their capital. Now, there are going to be some expeditions into this land, but it is not very valuable and also not very worth it, considering it's all just desert. They don't really know about the Fertile Crescent. We're now see some more expansion up here into the Balkans, across this Adriatic coast here. This is mainly being done by Spartans and Albanians. They explore this bit of Croatia, as well as all of this area over here. And eventually they reach into the Italian peninsula, which they don't know is the same peninsula as here. Albania is going to be claiming much of this land over here, using it for fishing. And after these Albanian people move down the peninsula, they meet up with these people, and they decide to form their own country away from Albania, as they're getting kind of sick with this government, because it's kind of focused on down here and not focused on the Albanian peoples over here and everything up here. So they kind of want to form their own thing. So the country of Rome is going to start right over here. They're going to build a small major city. Well, yes, a small major city is kind of contradicting myself there, but they are going to build a major city on the Adriatic. It is at this point that we're going to see quite a major war happen in the Greek peninsula and Anatolia. Now, Anatolia here, or the green team, I guess, is quite annoyed at Thessaloniki for taking Crimea from them, as well as all this Black Sea coast. As well as that, they had taken this bit of Thrace from them during the First Purple Team War, so they are quite annoyed at this Thessaloniki country as of late. So they are going to be invading them and taking back this old land. This is immediately going to be assimilated into their country. The people here don't even really mind. And then this country is actually going to be starting an invasion into here. They are going to follow this river, cut off the country from their Black Sea coast, and immediately take all of it. Some brutal naval battles are going to happen in the middle of the Black Sea. Almost all of the ships are going to sink, but eventually a naval landing is going to be made on Crimea. However, Thessaloniki is quite skilled, and they are going to make a few landings on these islands over here in the purple team. They are going to eventually be able to encircle this area here. They're going to invade back into Thrace and take it back, and they're going to take Constantinople, taking all of this part of the Anatolian Peninsula, and nearing their capital quite a bit. However, back up here in Crimea, this major city is taken and the entire colony falls. As well as that, this major city is retaken back here. And at this point, it is really just this front right here. So thousands of soldiers are going to be sent to this front line to fight and defend the homeland. However, a very clever Greek person is going to decide, why don't we just expand around this colony and send people into these unclaimed lands, and then do a naval invasion into the capital? So they do exactly that. They move their boats through here into the capital at night while it was foggy, and then they make a naval landing here and take the capital. This front line is just going to crumble at this point. Hundreds of Greek soldiers are going to flood into this area. Another naval landing is going to be made over here. This river is going to be taken and moved down, and then a huge encirclement is going to begin right over here. All of these Anatolian soldiers are now encircled. However, this front line is quite weak, so while the soldiers are sleeping at night, they penetrate through it and are able to cut off this area, which is then blast through, retaking this major city. The capital is then retaken in open arms and people rejoice. The government declares that they are going to win this war no matter what. Thessaloniki is now in a bit of a panic because their entire front line they just established is completely gone now, so they need to rebuild it or just try to defend themselves. It is now gone from an offensive to a defensive war for these guys. because very, very quickly, all of these front lines are crumbling. Thrace is retaken, and Constantinople is blasted right back into. The green team soldiers now push up against this river, and this is exactly what they wanted. Just Thrace and the colonies slowly decide to have a white peace with Thessaloniki or Greece here. So let's take a look at this peace treaty. So taking a look at this peace treaty here, we can see that the green team now has complete control of the Black Sea, or at least all the areas that are colonized by them in the Black Sea. All the other areas are just being inhabited but not actually controlled by them. But they are the only country who borders the Black Sea at this point. Thessaloniki did lose some land, but they also gained some land over here. To make up for this, Thessaloniki is going to take some of this land over here that's been unclaimed, some of this more mountainous inland areas of Greece. So Thessaloniki now shares quite a long border with Albania here. So that is going to be it for this episode. If you did enjoy, please consider liking and subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.